good to see you. Great to meet you. How you doing? You excited for this?
I'm absolutely excited.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have the...
What else could we be doing other than spending our time in a Porsche?
Right, I mean, so with that, let's see the strip before we head back to the Mandalay. So we are here today in our Carpool Conversations as we head towards the Mandalay Bay for ITC. And joining me here today, I have Tim Hardcastle from Instanda. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. What's not to like? I'm in an amazing car. The sun is out and we're about to start the convention.
God, I cannot wait. And you know what? Yeah, as you say, what a way to start it. I think we're two Brits. Am I right in that? I'm guessing by the accent. So, I mean, Tim, for our viewers at home, could you tell us a bit more about Instanda, please?
Well, let me give you a kind of a bit more of a painting of the background because I think that's helpful.
Please.
I mean, when you look at any technology, I think it's always interesting to hear from technology vendors. They think that technology is the salvation to everything. And I spent a lot of my earlier career in a number of different corporates, including Hiscox, where I was the CIO.
Right.
And buying technology is a really interesting process. There's a lot of science, but there's some art in there, right?
Yeah.
And I think what we've set out to do is address all of those challenges that I faced and my team faced when we've been buying software, talking to insurance people about their frustrations, and we had the opportunity and the drive and the passion, right, to create something that dealt with all of those things that we got really frustrated by and ultimately we didn't feel were getting great value. So it's in that background that Instanda was formed. It's not one of these companies that formed 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And then tries to pretend it's like relevant for today. You
Yeah.
know, the Emperor's New Clothes or the digital lipstick on a pig and all those kind of sayings go with it. And I'm sure the established vendors would really rankle when they hear that from me. But, you know, ultimately you have to talk to people in the industry about, you know, why do they choose the kind of technologies they choose and what are they looking for? And the science bit, of course, is does the technology tick off a bunch of boxes on functionality? But the art is, can you inspire and allow for creativity and innovation and speed of change?
That's going to be so critical.
Because I believe, you know, if you're going to make a prediction about the success of any company, in actual fact, in any industry, right, insurance is where we're at and we love it and we're embracing it. But speed of change in any industry is kind of the essence of the critical success factors for long-term success, I believe.
Well, it's something that maybe insurance has not had to think about for too long and now suddenly really has to get to grips with it. Now, with that in mind then, how do you enable that to actually?
Well, exactly. I mean, so when you think about some of the technology that's around and been around for years, then just simplistically put, when they want to make a change, it has to be done in the code, in the database, and these things just take time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of process involved. You have to then sync up when you're going to release it, and when you've got clients on different instances, it's just a very big issue to manage and process that change. And so I like to talk about the fact that if you look across multiple industries, technology is becoming increasingly accessible. I mean, look at this car we're in.
Yeah. Right.
All of this technology is accessible at your fingertips, right? Under your control, largely.
Yeah.
We're doing okay so far. But you look at, you know, whether you look at Microsoft and its direction of travel on the technology within the Azure marketplace, everything is about accessibility. And they come up with the concept, you know, the phrase of citizen developer, because it's about empowering people to get technology, to combine it in different ways, to serve their needs. And within insurance, we've seen very, very little of that because the systems are old.
Yeah.
It makes it really difficult to change. So it's about flipping the model and putting the technology in a way that's accessible and easy to access, and then ultimately easy to change for the people that are running it. And that's what we've done with Instanda.
Well, that is so important because we're starting to see this, especially in banking as well.
Right.
Bankers don't want to be or can't be as good as the tech companies, the tech giants that we see in the world. They want to be banks.
Yeah.
Insurers want to be insurers.
Exactly.
Work on what you do well and do it well.
Exactly right.
So you enable these insurers to really get to that level?
That's a really good observation, right? And I think we are great at building software, right? And I've had this debate on different conferences and different panels with people running insurance companies. They are amazing at evaluating, managing, controlling, pricing risk, for example, right? What they want and what they need is technology to enable them to do their bit better. And of course, where it gets out of whack is when the technology is not able to serve them what they need every second, every minute, and they want to change it and flex it because that's how business is, and they find the technology is inflexible. And then you end up in the situation where the proverbial tail, let's call the technology the tail, is wagging the dog, right?
God,
and our view is respect the expertise of the insurance community, because there's some brilliant people, many brilliant people all over the world, right? Doing incredible things. Or let's put it this way, they would love to do brilliant things, but often they held back. And so our job is make great software, make it accessible, make it easy to change, put it into the hands of the experts for insurance, and take away the technology thinking around what they need to worry about, just make it possible for them to manipulate it in the easiest way they can, and then you're onto a winner. And that's our premise. That's what we do. That's where we get great traction with different parts of the insurance community all over the world, and we're really excited about our direction of travel. And it's great for me because it's something that I was able to convert that personal journey from a CIO buying hundreds of millions of pounds, dollars worth of software, and now I can proudly stand behind ours and say that's never going to give you the headaches, the heartaches that I had.
Brilliant.
I mean, there'll be other things that we have challenges for sure. We're not perfect. I mean, any company that claims it is just
especially when it comes to tech.
Yeah.
And the pace of change is really the thing that means that anyone that says that is just a barefaced lie. So it's refreshing to hear it, from your perspective. It's only been a couple of days, but I'm also incredibly happy to speak with another fellow Brit. I mean, whereabouts are you based out of?
Well, so we're headquartered in London. We have a software engineering centre in Cambridge, although that's rapidly spreading to Europe. We've got centres now in Portugal and Romania.
Wow.
We will be setting up a centre in the US. We're just deciding on location. That'll happen. The process of recruiting will start next year. And that covers our core markets. US and Europe are primarily the focus. We're just entering the Japanese market as well, which you could say, well, wow, that's a bit extreme, right?
Yeah.
But we were led into that market through one of our partners, Deloitte.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job in aligning our technology to the needs of the Japanese market, and we've already won 2 clients in Japan, more to follow. Japanese market is a very different kind of market to the US. I love the fact that the insurance communities that we deal with, we're fortunate, right? Sorry, just a brief step back. We deal with the most progressive end of insurance because it's either the larger carriers setting up a greenfield digital operation, or trying to digitalize, specialty lines, for example, or we're dealing with MGAs and MGA groups. And on the life and health side, it's again similar with the larger carriers trying to do something different. So we're blessed in that we talk to the most progressive companies, but what we see in the US, in Europe, to some extent in Japan, there's a lot of thematically consistent patterns of what people are looking to do. Yeah. The frustrations they have with their technology, and the benefit we can bring them, and the speed of change and the low TCO as well, of course. So it's a very exciting time for us.
Looking at the industry as a whole, we've kind of touched on it a bit. You've brought, the pain points you've found in the industry. Yeah. But now they've been addressed or are being attempted to. Yeah. Where do you see it going in the future, and what's really annoying you about the industry currently?
Well, I don't know whether the thing about the industry now compared to say 5 years ago. If you'd have asked me that question 5 years ago, my answer would have been that a lot of the insurers were not equipped, didn't have the appetite, it wasn't on the board agenda to start to really genuinely look at alternative ways to get to their destination using modern technology. Sure. Right? And I think what's fascinating in the last 5 years is with the wave of insurtech, with the wave of change that we've seen, not just from a technology standpoint, but new entrants, and you can reserve judgment on things like Lemonade and Hippo and others, given the valuation
that they achieve.
But they're coming up with a different business model, and you can see the rise of increasing levels of retail experience for consumers, and so the increasing rise in embedded insurance and so on. So I think 5 years ago, if I'd have answered that question, I would have been, and I was frustrated with this lack of, propensity to engage
Sure.
and take seriously the opportunities that were available even then.
Yeah.
Where we are now, 5 years on, I think the dialogue and the narrative is more sophisticated, and we're starting to talk about, well, genuinely leveraging data for insight and for making change on the experience of customers in like a retail way, right?
Yeah.
If I'm getting data insights, how do I make that change on some of my customer engagement processes and experience points in an hour or in a couple of hours, right? This kind of retail way of behaving, which any online retailer would just say, well, yeah, well, so that's how you do it, right? But insurance, as you said earlier, it's starting to come to that. So I think that's great directionally. I think the directional change around, again, a little bit of this, rather than paying for the loss, but getting into more discussion around prevention. We're getting to see a number of initiatives.
This is what I find fascinating.
Yeah, around pet insurance, cyber insurance, where there's so much more is about the way that you can operate in a much more safe, beneficial way. We're dealing with some. Oh, that's nice. You put your foot down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's a nice little kick.
All right.
Yeah. I like that. But shame we wouldn't have the chance to feel
really smash the drive. Yeah.
I love it. But in these areas, particularly life and health, the whole wellness, where you're giving education, advice, and encouragement.
Sure.
A bit of gaming, and one company we're working with in the UK is shortly to really make a big splash in that space. You will hear some press on it in the next couple of months.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting. So I don't feel I got major issues with the insurance now that say I would have done 5 years ago, right?
Okay.
So that's just a bit of context.
Yeah.
I think now what we're looking at is how do we make sure that we're keeping up pace and coming up with some thought leadership to enable some of these discussions to go on a stage.
Yeah.
And I feel really well placed that using our platform, you can just create value so fast that we're not talking about long-term change programs. Oh, give us a year or two and we'll make it happen. We can make things happen in days, weeks, months.
That's absolutely incredible.
And it's
to
really
think
important.
about that in insurance.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for boards to know that if they want to change direction or enhance their offering, that they can see some value creation within short windows. Because at the moment, as we see it, capital is under more pressure than ever to
You
seek a
really
return.
have to earn it.
Yeah. So this ability to create value quickly, I think is a prerequisite for any vendor. We stand very proudly behind that as an ability to do that. We can't solve to all problems, right? I mean,
Sure.
we have to choose, and as we do, the right places for us to exert where we're great. But it's just great. Some of the conversations we have, some of the opportunities we have, and I think there's a real appetite, with the MGA groups for transformation and embracing a better way, and we're just so fortunate to be riding that wave. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. That's for sure.
With insurance, you typically want to have quite an engaged experience. Often proactive, and that's because we're in the industry and we want this preventative insurance side of things. But when customers on the street get used to this embedded insurance ecosystem, I'm very excited.
I think that's
to
a
see
really
what's
good
gonna
point, right? And just to build on it, I certainly think in the life and health arena, the kind of purchase that you're making around insurance is so much more emotionally rich, right? I don't mean to dismiss motor and home, but a lot of people will be buying motor insurance and home insurance either because legally they have to, or they might be seeking a lowest price kind of proposition. It's seen more as like a utility, and some insurers are thinking about it a bit differently, and connected home, and obviously with the options around giving feedback on your driving style and rewarding you, some good progression there. But you're still dealing with a product that is not the most exciting, right? Or doesn't mean as much to you in your life, unless an event happens, you crash your car or whatever. But when wanting to,
which I'm trying not to do in this
you're
Vegas
doing a great
traffic.
job of not doing that, and I hope I'm being a relaxed enough.
Oh, you're being brilliant. Thank you.
Wanting to make a claim, it's only not going to be affecting everyone. Whereas life and health, I think, is really interesting. I mean, we've seen a decline over many years of people not buying enough life and health cover, But if there can be a connection made with you around your lifestyle, the way you operate, and some nice feedback to say, hey Doug, you're doing a great job, right? You're going to live a little bit longer, right? You're going to have a great quality of life.
Oh, thank you, Tim.
You know, you're at lower risk of having any major critical illnesses, and just keep on this path. Or here's a few things. I mean, you know, how's kind of that conversation, right? What's that going to mean to you, your family, your loved ones? I think a lot. When I look at property and casualty, massive market, loads of opportunity for improvement for sure. But it's a different kind of mindset that comes with that, I believe. And you know, we seek to solve to that, of course we do. But I think for the insurers, the challenge there is more of a business engagement model, less a personal one. I think the opportunities in P&C around commercial with SMEs and so on, I think is real high growth areas. Cyber we've seen go through the roof.
But what I find interesting is that insurance seems to really tackle the three currencies of life: time, money, and health. Well, with that in mind, we have, unfortunately, just arrived at the Mandalay. Now, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, we could have talked to a lot longer.
I think we could have.
I know you've got other people to see, so.
Yeah, we've got to, we're effectively, because of the downturn, having to provide taxi services to the Mandalay for the whole conference, it feels like. Yeah. But I've really enjoyed our chat, and I hope
Likewise,
you have
Doug.
a great conference.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll see me on the floor as well.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Tim, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Honestly, one of my favourite ones today. So yeah, we'll have to see you in the conference. Just through there. Perfect.